Hi, I'm Petreece Cuffie, counselor and trainer, and one of my deepest desires is to see people experience the fulfillment and growth that comes through healthy relationships. We're wired for relationships, so tune in and join with me as I explore and discuss tools for healthy relationships every Monday, 12:15 p.m. on Isaac 98.1 FM.
All right, guys. Well, we are ready for the program Healthy Relationships with a Counselor and a Trainer. Let me just get myself here until I'm able to get Petreece and Huey. Good afternoon to you guys. Good afternoon. Welcome back once again. Good afternoon, Petreece. Are you there with me? Yes? I'm not hearing you. All right. Looks like Petreece is frozen. All right. Okay. All right, Huey, are you there? Are you hearing me, Huey? All right.
So I'm not sure if you are here.
Yes. I think there's a
Hearing
slight
me?
delay. Yes, slight delay. Go right ahead, Petreece. Let me see what's happening there.
All right, so I'm really hoping everyone is seeing and hearing, those who viewing the seeing and those who listening the hearing. And right, so
Right.
again, thank you. I'm really happy to be here again, and Happy New Year to those who may have missed the first program for the year, which was last Monday. So I am continuing with self-awareness. I am looking at part 2 today, and I have a guest, which is Huey Cuffie. We're looking at indicators of a lack of self-awareness and how to increase your self-awareness. So last Monday, I would have looked at the importance of self-awareness, and we looked at some aspects of self-awareness, and just had a short chat with Huey about why self-awareness is important as a man and what can hinder a man in his efforts to increase in self-awareness. So I want to continue that discussion today, but just want to share a little more on self-awareness. And as I would have shared, for me, self-awareness is one of the most important qualities necessary to have and sustain healthy relationships. I don't believe any of us are 100% self-aware. And this is why we need feedback from friends, from colleagues. We need the Word of God and the Holy Spirit to continue to convict us and to guide us. And we know that a lack of self-awareness can cause a lot of conflicts and misunderstandings and even break up and break down in our relationships. So it is so critical and important. And I would have shared last Monday that there are 2 categories or 2 types of self-awareness, and this is important. You have your public self-awareness and you have your private self-awareness. And if you missed last Monday, you can find that video on FBN TV, on YouTube, FBN TV. Just type in healthy relationships and you can view that program. But just briefly, your private self-awareness represents how clearly you see your own self, your values, your passions, your aspirations, your fit with environment, or reactions and impact on others. So this is how clearly you see yourself. So you understand yourself. And then there's the public self-awareness. And this means that you understand how other people view you, how other people view us. Now, it is easy to assume that being high on one type of self-awareness, so I'm high on the private self-awareness, which means I'll be high on the public self-awareness. But studies have shown that there's no correlation. So somebody can be very high on the private self-awareness, so they know themselves really well, but they're not good at the public. So they're not even understanding how their behaviors and actions are impacting others. And this is so important. And just last night, I was discussing with a friend, the reality that most of us judge ourselves by our intentions, while people are judging us by our behaviors. And the reality is, most of us, our intentions are good. And if my intentions are good, I am thinking that, okay, I'm having this wonderful impact on people. But remember, what is impacting people is not your intentions, it's your behaviors. And therefore, it's very important if we have to be self aware, we have to know not only our intentions are very important. Our intentions are important even to God. So don't think intentions are not important. But intentions alone are not what make for healthy relationships. I am sure that many of us, right, have no bad intentions towards people, but we still hurt people. Many of us, our close relatives, spouses, we know they have no bad intentions, but they're still hurting us, right? So I think it's very important, even when we're looking at self-awareness, to be able to know my intentions may be good, doesn't mean my behaviors are not impacting my relationships in a negative way. So I need to look at both my intentions and my behaviors. Now, there are 5 elements of self awareness, right? Or 5 aspects of self awareness, right? And we need to be aware in all of these 5 elements, or in all of these 5 areas, or in all of these 5 aspects, whatever word best is best for us. And these 5 aspects or areas or elements of self awareness are consciousness. And this means, so that's number 1, consciousness. And this means being aware of your internal experiences, including your emotions and thoughts. So I am conscious of what is happening in me. I'm aware of my emotions, my feelings, my thoughts. And then, secondly, there is self knowledge. Secondly, self knowledge. This element is focused on your understanding of who you are, including your beliefs, your values, what motivates you. So this is me knowing myself. I understand these things. I understand who I am. And then number 3 is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. And this element is focused on your ability to understand and manage your emotions and understand the emotions of others and to be empathetic. So emotional intelligence is not just about understanding and managing your emotions, but also being able to understand the emotions of others and to be a person who is able to communicate with empathy. Number 4 is self-acceptance. And this aspect is centered on accepting who you are and showing yourself compassion and kindness, because sometimes we could be our worst critics, so we don't even need an enemy to be beating us up. We're beating our own selves up, right? And this is a very important part of self-awareness, being able to accept ourselves, right? Strengths, weaknesses, and issues. We know where we need to work, so it's not okay, I just accepted myself as I am and I'm not going to change. It's not that, right? But I'm able to show myself compassion and kindness because God loves me and He wants me to love me. And number 5 is self-reflection. So this element of self-awareness involves being able to think deeply about your feelings, your thoughts, and goals in order to gain an even better understanding of who you are, how you are impacting others, and your place in the world. So all of these elements, areas, aspects, we need to be fairly good at to have healthy self-awareness. So let me tell you them again. So it's consciousness, self-knowledge, emotional intelligence, self-acceptance, and self-reflection. Very important areas if we have to be self-aware. Now, the benefits of self-awareness, some of them are being able to manage and regulate your emotions. So you are aware of how you feel and you can be proactive with your feelings. So your feelings not running the show. You're not ending up in situations and wondering, how did I end up here? Right? We are better able to communicate. So we have better communication for a number of reasons. You know yourself, you are aware of your feelings, your needs, your wants. You can understand the feelings and needs and wants of others, and you are empathetic. So self-awareness causes us to have better communication. We have better decision-making skills. Why? Because you know your values, your beliefs, your strengths, your weaknesses, and you have a sense of what God is doing in your life. Of course, if we have all of those things, we'll have improved relationships, right? If we're better able to manage our emotions, if you're more empathetic, right, we will have better relationships. We have higher levels of happiness. We are more confident. We have better job satisfaction. We have better leadership skills and better overall perspective. You know why? Because you don't only see things through your eyes, but you can also see things through another person's point of view while staying true to your values and your beliefs. So I can see how you can see it like that, right? But I can still hold to my beliefs, but also I could broaden things. I could learn new things because I'm not just seeing my way as the only way. And you're more likely to make better choices because you understand your life. You're able to recognize your strengths and weaknesses. You're able to talk about your feelings and your needs. You're able to ask for what you want. You recognize other person's feelings and needs, and you see how your behavior impact others. And I think this is so critical. Again, going back to that intention and behavior, you develop a growth mindset and you learn from your mistakes. So all of these things are benefits of being someone who has a good level of self-awareness. As I said, none of us are 100%, but we're working, right? So I want to bring Huey into the conversation at this point in time. So hi, Huey. I hope you're hearing me, and I hope people
Hi,
are
Petreece.
seeing and hearing him. All right. So I want to continue our interview, and I want to start with the question of what are the signs that a man may lack self-awareness? What are those signs that a man may lack self-awareness? So Huey, if you can help me out here.
No problem. I mean, I know you have your list of for general. I'm just going to speak, and
Yes.
you could slot it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So some of these signs obviously is where persons are wronged you, as are giving you consistent feedback about your actions or what you see, but you feel to you feel to recognize it and you feel to agree. And these are not just persons who seem to be untrustworthy. These are persons who are credible. They have been consistent in other aspects of their life, and especially if it is that you regard them and you take them seriously in other areas of life.
Right.
And so if they're sharing things with you consistently, it's not just one person, but from time to other persons share. One classic example would be maybe you talk to a friend and, you come home to talk to your spouse and say, I can't believe that Harry said that about me. And then your wife says, well, I mean, yeah, it's true. You always saw
I
that.
told you
And then
this
you're
before.
shocked. Yeah, I told you this before. And you're shocked. So that's one of the telltale signs that you lack self-awareness and that you're not aware of that. Another area where one lacks self-awareness is, on men talk, especially when you started many years ago, we used to talk about the cluelessness of men. You said, men clueless, women psycho in terms of, some of the relationship dynamics. But where cluelessness of men are concerned, you see it in terms of, your wife maybe, responding in her, in terms of she's not there with you, she's not connected, she's frustrated or she's experiencing some level of emotional distress, and for the life of you can't understand why. And so many times, unfortunately, what you find happening, because how women tend to take a lot in terms of a relationship and would seek to try, they're very patient, but, and they're talking, but you find that you are not taking it on because, we as men, we tend to act only many times when there's a crisis. But by the time there's a crisis for a woman, she already has made up her mind. And so, many times when a man seeks to act, it's many times it's too late in terms of she's already leaving and things like that. So the self-awareness, the lack of self-awareness is when you are unable to detect serious, threats and changes in your critical relationships.
That's a
And
good one.
and you always continue as if nothing is happening, and your partner is actually want to know, like, well, is this person blind? And so, it could be in terms of the era of intimacy, you may have mistreated, your wife, and then you expect that, that is somehow disconnected to how she's responding to your attempts at intimacy. So those are other stuff there, but
And I think
those
that
are,
kind of speaks to one of the things with a lack of self-awareness is a lack of empathy. So you
yes,
find when you lack self-awareness, you don't get how other people feel and how your
yes,
behaviors are impacting others. And you can see how that could be
yes,
so destructive to
yes,
relationships.
yes.
And yes, you may.
No, I was going to say, and building on that,
Mm-hmm.
your inability, another characteristic of a lack of self-awareness is your inability to articulate your emotions.
Yes.
How you are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is also
And
another
why
one. Just
something might be impacting you in a particular way.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. So I have a number of things, and I don't know even if I speak to them. If you want to share, even as a
Sure, no
man, a
problem.
male, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
feel everyone else is always to blame for things, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
it's always someone else's
yeah, yeah.
fault. You
That's a
just
classic.
don't
That's a
see
classic.
your part
Yeah.
in the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Another one
Yes.
is that you are in denial about how you know, in what you're doing with your life. So you're saying one thing, but you're behaving differently. And you don't realize that your behaviors are driving force in what is creating conflict with others, right? We are great at inventing, what seems to us to be logical reasons for why we're doing what we're doing. A lot of times covering up things that we actually scared to deal with. So, you're in denial that I have an addiction, or you're in denial that yes, this relationship is bad. You're in denial that things really bad here with finances. You just and you're overspending and all, but you're in denial about that. And those things can point to us a lack of self-awareness, because one of the things about self-awareness too, it helps us to face not just the good but also the bad in us, and to work through it, and to have compassion even as we face the bad in ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
we
think
mhm.
sorry, just quickly. Also, feeling to understand the gravity of your actions, the impact it is having on others. So we tend to minimize. So, you think it's not really a big deal. And as such, you really lose sight of the fact that this actually is having a serious impact on your loved ones, or even, as I said, things like your finances and whatnot. So that as well, a failure to judge how, impactful
Yes.
your behaviors or your actions are as well.
Yeah. And even with that, you make excuses and you get defensive. That's
Yes.
another aspect of a lack of self-awareness, because in your mind, you are right and you have a perfectly good reason why you are right, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone just does not get it.
Yeah, the
So
internal logic.
yeah, so you're unable to see it from the other person's point of view,
Mm-hmm.
right? And acting defensively too, also just trying to defend yourself. So not even realizing sometimes it's more about you than it is about the relationship, or it is more about you than it is about really hearing and understanding what the other person is feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, when that happens, you are missing opportunities to explore options that may have great benefit to you and others. And if that defensiveness and that excuse making can actually become ingrained over time, if you keep using it over time, it could just be your natural go-to response.
Yeah. The thing about it is that, again, self-awareness is really speaking towards being aware of yourself. And, that's obvious. But in terms of the issues that you also have to grapple with. And so, for example, a person may have a fear of rejection, right, connected to a previous past experience in the way it's the family of origin and whatnot. And so you lack that self-awareness. So what is happening? The self-awareness or the lack of it is preventing you from being able to identify what is driving how you respond to things. And so you have this fear of rejection lurking below the lack of self-awareness, and therefore denial and all of these things. Because remember, when people might give you feedback, we tend, because of self rejection, we tend to think that it's an attack on us.
Yes.
And so you're not even aware it is why it is you respond so vicious to a critique, or even just maybe your wife saying, can you consider this, or your husband saying, can you consider this? But because you're not aware, you're just going there. So that's the next thing. Self-awareness many times enables a lot of very destructive patterns to persist and causes our relationships now to have problems.
And you're saying that word rejection, is that a big deal for men?
I know it's a big deal for me. I'm not the spokesperson of all men, but I think very a lot of us as men, I do know. I mean, I said, if let's put it this way, if you are in a situation, man or woman, where as a young child you have experience, you remember your parenting, your upbringing creates a secure base. This is a sense of comfort, a sense of safety, a sense of confidence.
I am worth it. I am good enough.
Worth it. Yeah, all of those things. If you have a situation where parents either weren't there in your life, right, or actively rejected you, even while in your presence, those form strong messages in you that persist throughout your later stages in life. And so, men, yes, men are not immune to it. Right, we just try to deal with it in different ways, and so we seek to suppress it. And again, especially when you're younger, because as a child, it's very difficult for you to be processing all of these things. In the grace of God, many times He causes that to just to be down there, so that you're not having to deal with it, because you won't function. Yeah. But then, now as you get older, it becomes a liability. It's the disadvantage that you keep those things suppressed, because now you're still acting out in it. In ways, especially when it comes to intimate relationships. So yeah, men are affected by it. Men are affected by things of a sense of a lack of competence. We don't feel good when we don't accomplish things. We don't feel good if it is, that, maybe we are out of work or something. You're not accustomed providing for your family, and that is not happening. Maybe your wife, thankfully, is doing that, but you don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel good about, being shown up. Right, all of those things. There are a lot of things that we don't feel good about.
And I think even as you're saying that, imagine feeling like that as a man. You're not feeling competent. Let's say you're out of work or whatever, and of course it is impacting the relationship and the family. Now you are not really talking to yourself about it. Neither are you talking to your partner about it, your wife, your spouse about it. And the person is trying to bring up how this is impacting. I can see a person becoming very defensive or even aggressive or even shutting down.
Yeah.
Because they are not in that space of self-awareness able to process this in a healthy way. Yeah.
Yes.
Another common trait of a lack of self-awareness is an inability to give and receive apologies, right? And so you do accept it, and it's very difficult for you to give it. That's another aspect. Sometimes even being passive aggressive. I know I was a passive aggressive kind of person, so that I'm not outwardly aggressive naturally. If you hear me rah-rahing, know that I'm not upset. When I'm upset, I do not speak. Right? So I will go instead of sharing why I'm upset, because sometimes I'm not even sure why I'm upset. I would find ways to get back at the person. Well, that was probably just in my head ways of getting back at the person. Or do little things to get back at a person without actually saying that I'm upset. And that I know for me was one, my inability to actually identify what was really going on with me. And also to communicate that in a healthy way. Yeah. Um, I think another one would be you don't actually understand why you act and do what you do. You just,
Yeah.
You're prone to emotional outbursts, because one of the things of self-awareness is knowing how you feel. And you have emotions and you put cognition to it or thinking to it, and you understand how you feel, and then you are able to be proactive about your feelings. What can I think and or do to deal with this in a healthy way, or to respond in a healthy way? And um, when we lack self-awareness, we can be prone to these things. And I'm sharing these things, dear listeners and viewers, because I see how much a lack of self-awareness really harms our relationships, not just with others, but also with ourselves. And God wants us to have healthy relationships, not just with Him, not just with others, but also with ourselves. Anything you want to share there?
Yeah, the lack of self-awareness could also, because in terms of the emotional outbursts, if you feel that, you are doing such an excellent job, right? In terms of whether it's in your marriage or whatever, but you're not. But because of a lack of self-awareness, you actually live in this unreality, as I like to call it. When someone else gives you feedback, you actually instead of being ashamed, because a person with self-awareness may be ashamed, or maybe they may react. It's not good to get feedback that is, criticism or anything like that. But at least there's a tinge of humility, or there's a tinge of,
you see where you're coming from.
Yeah, you catch
yes.
me.
Yes.
But with a person who lacks self-awareness, they feel that, it's like the story you give, with the crew. You feel like you doing your best job. And then, like, how dare you say this? So a lack of self is because, okay, this person really doesn't get it. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why you may have those, you may be prone to emotional outbursts, is because you really do believe that you are doing a great job. And how dare this ungrateful child tell me this and that, when it is back, and everybody around, even your dog Rover, nah, he.
Oh Lord.
yeah. So.
So even with that, coming to being defensive about feedback, that's another characteristic that in that example you gave there, but of also overestimating your contribution. So you thinking, you are the best thing since sliced bread. I'm doing such a wonderful job, because this goes back to Huey, that we judge ourselves, a lot of us, by our intention.
Yeah.
And remember, most of us, our intentions are good. But what impacts people are our behaviors. So our intentions giving us this false reality that we're doing all these wonderful things. When in truth and in fact, somebody, is this person, where is this person living? Are they in La La Land? Because that is not what is happening here.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a real thing. And so you find many times, even in giving feedback, you as you say, you are giving feedback, and this person is responding particularly and say, like, okay, something is off here.
Yes,
and that is a classic sign, as I think I said at the very beginning, that okay, this person is lacking self-awareness. And so that's why it's so important. I mean, we'll go into that eventually, but it's so important to have trusted persons around you. Friends. And friends are not just for when things are going good. We need to have friends who are able to tell us those things when things are not going good, in terms of how we are operating. They're
Yes.
trustworthy. You could,
Yes.
it's like you're driving a car, if it is you have symbols in your car. I remember mechanic tell me this guy, he's driving his car and, um, the engine said stop, the light said stop, right? Because apparently, well, they didn't have coolant or anything in that, and he continued driving, right? And basically, the engine sees, and I said stop means stop. So the thing
Mhm.
about it is that we ignore in our own mind we have an engine and we have lights on the dashboard going off. But if
Mhm.
or in terms of relationships, you have to see your friends as the oil light. You have to see your friend as a battery check. And but if you distrust them, if you say like I'll ignore that, I will continue, then you could find yourself in even serious trouble. So friends,
Mhm.
family members who give us feedback, as we say, feedback is a gift. We
Mhm.
need to see feedback as a gift because it takes courage for someone to give feedback, especially if it
Yes.
is they have experience in the past from you outbursts of anger and emotions,
Mhm.
and they say, "Look, I'm not here for that." you know,
Mhm.
they are doing it as love. So I think we have to reframe ourselves and say, "Look, this feedback will help me in terms of going
Mhm.
forward."
Yeah, and just coming out of that, you underestimate the damage you cause as a result of that. And you keep on making the same mistakes because you're not growing in certain areas. All right. So self awareness gives you the ability to be open, thoughtful, aware of how you are impacting others. And it is one of the best and most valuable qualities you can have. So, of course, a question to you listeners is, do you think you are self aware? Right? Have you met others who aren't? And how did it make you feel? Right? So, Huey, I have the second question and last question. Well, not the last,
Mhm.
but right.
Yeah.
How did you go about increasing your self awareness? Because, as I said to viewers and listeners, I actually think that you are very self aware, even as your wife.
Well,
Right?
thanks for that compliment. I mean, it matters a lot that you think so, because you
Yes.
because you know me more than
I'm
anybody
impacted.
else apart from God. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think let's start there. For me, as I said, importance of having friends, family, friends, loved ones who I listen to. So a critical thing is actually allowing yourself to be influenced by others. Right. So I've allowed myself to be influenced by you as my wife. I mean, if you're my wife, and if your wife cannot influence, if your spouse, if your husband cannot influence you, you have serious problems. Right. So for me, that was a critical thing. Even before we were married, before we were in a relationship, I had friends who basically I allowed to input into my life. They shared some important things I could look back at in the past where, a friend would have shared with me, for example, I was too, into myself, into the self-pity and
Mhm.
whatnot, at the
Mhm.
expense of actually being a blessing to others. I'll never forget that time. I'll always be thankful for that, Ryan. Appreciate that. And so, when I started listening, these are persons that I trusted in other areas that helped. My pastors, Fitzroy, Beverly Griffith, they played a role in my life. People like, again, Lennox Scott, a number of persons who gave me feedback in various areas of my life, both private and public, both in terms of
Mhm.
spiritual, both in the workplace.
Mhm.
And so for me, that was important. It was never always jolly. It was never always, pleasant.
Mhm.
Even in premarital counseling,
Mhm.
I mean, I came there to get advice how to, have a nice marriage. I didn't come to hear, well, this, you lack this and you need this and all that. And I remember times you'll be leaving those sessions and I drop in you home and it's awkward silence and I just vex and blah blah blah. So that is something that helped me. Another one, and I know you have it here as well for me, is like doing, personality tests. So I would have done Myers-Briggs, right? But even before that, thankfully, a lot was just confirmation. So that one I did. I think mine is INJP in terms of, introvert type person. But
Mhm.
the other one that really helped me was one called Strengths Finder, right? 2.0. And that really helped me to, because many times when we tend to do these tests and whatnot, we tend or assessments and, we're not talking about, as you say, the one on Facebook and these certified ones that are proven. When many times when we do these assessments, we tend to just focus on our weaknesses. And what I appreciated about the Strengths Finder It was helping you to be aware of your strengths so
Yeah.
that you know your strengths. The whole philosophy behind that is that if focus on your strengths, it could actually marginalize or make your weaknesses irrelevant. So that is, that helped as well. Understanding who I was, that's a critical thing. And then again, you as my wife, I mean, I always like to joke, um, because you're my wife, I get my counseling free. So, and I just know when I say dog there and in the living room and is the couch to watch TV now becomes a couch again, counseling Loki. So
And
that has
thankfully, you
helped
are
us.
you are willing to accept the influence,
Yes,
and
yes.
I
I mean,
think
there are
it's a
times.
mutual thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there are times when I know. I mean, I'm self-aware to know that there's some things, I am not too excited to go to do, but I do appreciate that as well. So counseling has helped. I think that's a valuable thing, and thankfully we're in an age where a lot more people, especially Christians, are recognizing the value of that trusted third party, a skilled person who, as I said in Proverbs 20, could a wise person who could, draw the deep things out of a person's heart. Yeah.
I think one Huey that you didn't mention and that you've done was you actually face your past and dealt with it and understood how it would have been impacting your present and dealt with that and put it
Yeah.
to rest. So I think that's an
Yeah.
important one.
Well, that's the grace of God, because there are times when you want to run away the opposite
Mhm.
direction, kicking and
Mhm.
screaming. But, God has ordered my steps in such a way that I had to face my past. And I always thank God for that. I'm not a hero there. God is the hero there in
Yes.
terms of,
Yes.
doing that work. So, yeah, it has
Yes.
been difficult at times, but, again, from very early, I'll just say a last thing. Even like I remember with my parents and being very upset with them because I mean they left me with my grandparents and they went abroad, and I tell myself, look, I will never be like that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to that they had me out of wedlock, and I don't want to have children like that. And then I was praying, and even before I became a Christian, God was speaking to me and said, look, if you do not forgive your parents, the same thing will happen to you and even worse. And so
Mhm.
even there as a young, boy, 11, 12, basically, I prayed and say, Lord, I forgive my parents. I release my parents. So, God would, speak to you from time to time, give you awareness, because many times we can't see certain things. We're so enmeshed in our hurt and in our outrage, these things
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm. Great. Thanks, Huey. And lastly, what encouragement do you want to share with men listening?
Yeah, well, as I said just now, there, men, know you're not alone. God is a hero in our story. When we read the Old Testament in particular, we tend to focus on the so-called heroes of the Bible, Abraham, all them. Every one of them had weaknesses, had failures. The one consistent character in terms of strength, in terms of deliverance, salvation, is God. God intervenes. So please, men, I want to encourage you. You're not alone, right? Jesus is there to give you the strength. You just pray. Even if you had to say, Lord, search me and see if there be any wicked way in me. Search me, Lord, and see if there's anything in me that I am not aware of that is having an impact. God is more than willing to answer that, right? And very importantly, your failures, your weaknesses, that does not say you are not a man, right? Your strength or your value as a person was given to you before you did anything, because you were
Yes.
made in God's image and likeness, and
Yes.
nothing you do is going to diminish that value.
Yes.
God loves you, and others are rooting for you as well around you. Believe it or not, you may feel you're alone, but there are many who are rooting for your success, and they know that once you are successful, many will be blessed, right?
Yes.
And so I just want you to know, men, that we can do it by God's grace.
Yes, and I just want to thank God for the men and the men in our churches, the men in our
Yes.
nation. It's not a situation of all men being bad. There are
No.
wonderful men in our church
Yes.
communities and in our nation, and we thank God for them and we pray for them, and we even pray for those who may on what I might call be on the dark side, that God will deliver them and God will save
Yes.
them and that they
Yes.
would walk in God's way. And we just bless the men
Amen.
today. Thank
Amen.
you so much, Huey. Thank you. I feel
My
I'll do this
pleasure.
another time. And just so today on guard.
No
So
problem.
Tiffany,
No
just
problem.
turn it over to you and just thanking everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you so very much to you both beautiful people. I know persons listen, they appreciate this so very much. And, hearing from Huey that information, I know, persons will hold on to that. So, Huey, thank you so very much as well.
My
You both
pleasure,
have a
Tiffany.
great day today. And, of course, Patrice, if I
Same to
get
you.
any messages, I will send to you, all right? So, thank you
Sure.
once again. And until we meet again for another
All
edition
right.
of Healthy Relationships. God bless you both.
God bless.
God
Take
bless
care.
you as
Bye-bye.
well,
Bye
Tiffany.
bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Petreece Cuffie, counselor and trainer, and one of my deepest desires is to see people experience the fulfillment and growth that comes through healthy relationships. We're wired for relationships, so tune in and join with me as I explore and discuss tools for healthy relationships every Monday, 12:15 p.m. on Isaac 98.1 FM.
Isaac 98.1 FM. Inspiring families, inspiring you. That's who we are. That's what we do.
Isaac 98.1 FM. Focusing on